There you go.
Welcome back, everybody. We are back with another episode. What's up, Dirk?
What is going on? Just another day in paradise, and
Welcome back, everybody. We are back with
just
another
wow, I got a mute over there because that is annoying. But yeah, just another day in paradise. It's a Sunday. It's a little warm up here. Actually ran out. I didn't realize there was a 511 tactical store in my area.
Nice.
I bought a pair of jeans that didn't quite fit and went to look at returning them and saw that there was a store here local. So I drove over there, tried on some other ones, and just exchanged it easy peasy.
Nice.
So we're going to give the 511 tactical jeans a try and see how they do.
Very nice. Hopefully you don't get shot in the crotch.
Hopefully not, because that would just
tactical
be
jeans, right?
That would be bad.
Yeah.
That would be
bad. I just want to say that I'm excited about this Sunday because I have a buddy coming on the podcast that you're familiar with, I'm familiar with, and it's like the little brother I never wanted, so I just want to bring him in right now. I don't even, he needs no
He doesn't even need an introduction.
He's been in this knife game longer than probably either one of us, and
I'm sure.
We're going to talk steel today, which is unusual for us. So we're not going to be doing much watch talk, I don't think, or maybe we will a little. But we're going to bring in Mr. Tom Hosang from Hosang Outdoors. What's up, Tom?
What's up, guys? Good to see you guys again.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. I think this is going to be a pretty fun, easy episode since we've done quite a few together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something like 40, 50.
Yeah, it was quite a few. And it's nice to have you back with us. And today I figured we're going to talk steel. And the real question of the day is I'm just going to throw it out there and people can comment and we'll interact with you guys. But does steel really matter?
You asking me?
Let's ask the steel. I mean, if you're asking me, like I have said on many a video, I think the average normal person isn't going to know any difference in steel if it's not marked on the blade or in the paperwork, because some knives don't have it. It's just in the box or whatever. I think the average person's not going to notice the difference because I don't think we actually use our stuff to its fullest potential, to the need that we're going to notice if it stays sharp or dull or, one of that stuff. I don't know. So let's ask the steel expert here, Tom.
I pretty much have to agree with you for most people. I feel like a lot of people don't take steels to their full potential, whether that be the maker on the maker side, or the end user side, as far as what kind of use they're putting on stuff. Everybody's use case is different. For me personally, I use my knives pretty hard. Nothing that's going to stress them out to the point where they're chipping, that kind of stuff. But edge holding is something that I use, or I basically wear down pretty frequently, and I have to sharpen pretty frequently on steels that, if they're not super high hard edge retention steels, Maximate K390, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm sharpening once a week. So that was kind of like my thing, was trying to find a steel that was going to hold an edge as long as possible, so I didn't have to sharpen every week.
Okay.
So it's up to like individual use case, and in my use case, that's kind of what led me down this rabbit hole of trying all this different stuff. But for most people, I think knives is kind of a hobby. They're not using it at their job every day like some people are.
Right.
And all you're doing is opening Amazon packages throughout the week. It probably doesn't matter what's stamped on the blade. You could probably get away with some Chinese stainless steel and be just fine.
Yeah, that's kind of me. I mean, I'll be honest. I carry a knife every day, and I use it a couple times a week when I get an Amazon package or I get other box, or most of what I'm using them for is opening packages, cutting that string on your jeans or your t-shirt and things like that. And I think I'm kind of the average person in that regard. But yes, if you're using it and let's say you work in a warehouse and you're processing cardboard half of the day, every day, yes, you're going to need some stuff that's better.
But then doesn't an X-Acto knife where you throw the old blade away even make more sense at that point?
And that's kind of what it comes down to too, because some people like to do that because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But I mean, knives is kind of something that I've been interested in, and I also, use my knives somewhat heavily, and I don't get any enjoyment out of just using a razor blade knife that can toss the blade away. I enjoy the sharpening aspect of it. I enjoy the steels. I enjoy trying different things, testing. So, I mean, that's part of it for people too, though, I feel like.
Like driving a manual transmission car.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it feels more personal. You get to know it.
Yep.
Yes,
absolutely.
and I drive a manual.
So do I.
My well, I only have one car right now. I've had several cars in the past at the same time, and my main only car now is a 6-speed stick. So I get that.
I think it also comes down to like price point on a knife. Is that some people want, if they're going to pay $200-$300 for a knife, they want a steel that's representative of that cost, not just paying for handle materials and looks.
Well, it's like Mike says, but it's knowing it's a premium steel for me. It's the thought. So yeah, I get it. I mean, to Tom's point, you don't want to buy a knife for $200-$300, $500, $1,000, and have some cheap, crappy steel in most people's words. If you know what I mean. A lot of people, I think, have the opinion that such and such steel is crap when it's really not. I think there's a lot of that going around the internet also.
Yeah, for sure.
This steel sucks because fill in the blanks.
I
and
think
then everybody runs with that.
I think people like myself, Steve, when he did a whole bunch of testing, Gerald, Fletcher at All Things Knives, I think we kind of perpetuate that a little bit, because we're always using these high-end, high edge retention steels and talking about this steel is better than this steel and this one's better than that one. But when it comes down to it, pretty much everything that's out there that's from a reputable maker is solid and can work for for people. Clint from Alchemy One on Instagram has a great saying. It's something like use, sharpen, observe. And if you do that, you can figure out what steel is going to work for you and what's going to be good for your uses, and what your price point can kind of be set at.
I think for me, it's the way that some people blanket statement certain steels.
For sure.
Like they blacklist like S35 or things of the past, even S30 or things like that. CPM 154 is one of those steels I love to death. It's not a high-end steel by any means, but as an end user of some of these steels in the past, I've grew fond of them and I still like them the same. But I think that people should try to experience them for themselves if that's something of your curiosity, right? But don't think that because you read in Blade Forum that these are all dinosaur steels and the new super stuff is Magna Cut and like everything else is gonna suck. And that's where people need to make sure they filter out like the wrong information, because chances are if you buy a bug out and you're doing light duty everyday stuff, you're gonna be okay. If you buy even like anything over like from $100-$150 is usually a pretty solid knife. How it flips, how comfortable it feels in your hand, and everything else is kind of subjective, right? Like that's our choice or our taste. Because I know guys that are so hardcore and they say, yeah, my $200 knife performs just like your $1,000 custom, right? And in some respects, yeah, they do. And then in some respects, maybe there's slight advantages to whatever I have, and maybe they're minute to someone and not to someone else. Just like the guy who will buy a Ford van and drive that to work every day, and the guy who's got to have the sports car, and wants that instead. It's all a matter of that. But I like the fact that everybody's gotten into this whole steel testing thing, because I think before some of you guys got into it, there's a lot of maybe mystique or misrepresentation of a lot of those things. And I think having these YouTube channels out where they kind of like explain things through testing and through visual things, and you know, I like that. I just don't like it when they say, you know, like my method is 100% fail proof and this is it and this is the gospel of what's going on. Because I think in many respects, no matter how scientific a lot of these YouTubers think they get, there's still some, you know,
it's still bro science at best.
Yes, exactly. So,
no matter how much you control the variables and stuff, as you know, as much as you can, it's bro science. And you know, I don't want to speak for guys
works.
like Gerald, because I know that Gerald, like, you know, is pretty strict on his, you know, parameters. Same with myself, trying to get the same cardboard, trying to, you know, finish the edge the same. Yeah. There's still,
well, I think you guys are more like steel hobbyists, right? Like that's your thing, that's your niche. Like, yeah. And you're trying to experience it for us and say, hey, this is interesting. Guess what I found out? And, you know, you show through testing and things. I actually really love your like micro edge pictures. Those were always my favorite little thing of yours to do, because you see how jagged and, you know, how many teeth are in that thing when you see that nice kind of polished edge from afar away. You know, it gives you a new perspective of
for sure
what really is going on when you're making contact with whatever it is and you're pull sliding it through. It's like, you know, and then the edge damage that it takes, you know, it's like, oh wow, when you magnify it, it's intense, you know. Yeah. Like a roll, for example, right? It looks horrible on microscope.
You're cutting something and you look down at your edge, you know, with your naked eye, and you just see like a little shiny spot. You're like, that's weird. But when you look at it, magnify it, I mean, it could be a small chip, it could be rolled, it could, you know, it could be, it looks different every time. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So that's the aspect that I really like about that stuff.
So Mike says, you know, testers are awesome in terms of keeping the companies honest. And I think that's a good point. You know, it is good to have testers kind of, you know, doing some independent tests, if you will, even though they're maybe not as scientific. But, you know, there are testers that are testing the hardness and saying, you know, hey, company X advertised it as 62 to 63. I'm only measuring 59, you know, and things like that. And I think everybody's mileage is going to vary a little bit on their usage of the knife, because they're cutting different things. It's different cardboard. It's different this. It's different that. But yes, the testers give us a lot of parameters, a lot of guidance on what it should be. And I like, you know, this Alicord kind of, her comment is like me. I don't know the difference between the different steels when I'm cutting with it. As long as it cuts, I'm happy. And to a lot of points, it is that. But I do, when I'm spending a lot of money on something, I do want a name brand, if you will, steel, just because that's what I want. I don't want some, you know, low end steel on my $1,000 custom knife, if you will. You know,
for sure.
So, but
I'd like to think that, you know, myself and I think Steve is the one who started all of this, and Gerald was there very early too. I like to think that we've all kind of had a positive impact on that as far as, you know, holding companies accountable, because I mean, it started with the M390 stuff, Benchmade with their 3V that was super soft for a while when it first came out.
I remember that was the not the bug out.
It was the bailout.
The bailout. It bailed out.
They were running like crazy soft, and Steve bent one basically at a 90-degree angle without it breaking.
And I quote,
that's not acceptable.
And I quote Steve, if I remember right, was baby shit soft.
That's exactly what it was,
if I remember.
But I mean, there's been some controversies, if you want to call them that have popped up over the last 3-4 years or so, and almost every single one of them have been resolved because it's been brought to light.
Right.
More recently, the Hinderer thing. I don't know if that's probably never going to change. And Medford now with MagnaCut. I don't know if you guys saw.
I did. I saw some. I don't know if I watched the whole video of him. It was My take on that video, I don't know if you watched it, Tom, or not. But
I have not. I saw that it was there. I didn't watch it yet.
My take was Greg was saying, hey, I've got the paperwork from Larry who designed MagnaCut or invented it, whatever it is, right? And I believe him because he's a super smart guy and he's got a bunch of science behind it and all that. And I believe him and I'm not going to argue with him. But what he's saying doesn't make any sense to me. And I've made a bunch of knives, so I don't believe it.
Yeah.
That's kind of was my take on his video. And I'm like, but he
cares what Greg says, though?
And he's going to slowly wade into using it. And I just heard from somebody that there's 130 Praetorians at a retailer that are going to be going up here next week, maybe, that are all MagnaCut. So Greg's done a batch or two
for the
saying
guys that
he
are
doesn't
buying
believe the properties. I'm like, okay, whatever.
For the guys that are buying it just to have a Medford.
Yeah, but who cares, like, if he likes it or not? Like, why are people going all crazy about it? Like, what does it matter? Doesn't he have, like, and you already know how I feel about Greg, but doesn't he have a right to his opinion? Like,
he absolutely does.
People all up in arms, like,
here to do, welcome.
You know, that's kind of where, like, is the response extreme, is what I'm saying.
Possibly.
And it shouldn't be surprising. It's Greg.
It's Greg. So he is extreme. Stuff. And then the day after Greg did that video, then Brian at Transparent Knives had to do a rebuttal video. And then it became a back and forth. And I'm like, whatever. I'm really happy with my RJ Martin and MagnaCut.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just happy that I have an RJ Martin now in my collection. Really.
That's beautiful.
And the fact that it's MagnaCut is just kind of cool. It's a little bit too much polish, of a mirror blade for me personally, but I got a good deal, so I couldn't pass it up, and I'm not getting rid of it. But we'll see over time how that MagnaCut holds up to my Amazon boxes.
I think what more people are upset about with the Medford thing is just, he's been pretty well known for doing pretty solid heat treats on everything that he's had before. S35VN, 3V, S90V. Yep. People love his S90V.
Oh, yeah.
But, compared to other makers, like look at Chris Reeve, for example. They're running their MagnaCut 6364. They're in the same vein as far as, quality of knives, in my opinion. And, they're going to be used for the same things. So if Chris Reeve has done their independent testing on it and worked with Laren to say, that's optimal.
Yep.
Why does Greg have the need to say, you know what, you all are wrong. We're putting it at this hardness, and that's that.
And partially, Greg admittedly said he couldn't get it to 63. He could only get it to...
They heat treat in-house, don't they?
They heat treat in-house, yeah.
And that could be part of the reason why, too, because anything over 62 requires some more special care.
But according to Greg, he's got the best heat treat equipment on the planet.
That sounds like some...
That sounds like something Greg would say.
I don't know. But anyway, what does Todd say here? If he puts out MagnaCut at 58, there will be some interesting feedback, but it's up to customers in the end to make their choice and spend their money. Yeah, and exactly. 58 is where Greg is going to be putting out his MagnaCut. That's what he says in his videos anyway. I don't know.
That's the only thing you can do is vote with your money.
Yeah, vote with your money. What's Thrasher's joining in? What is it with every YouTube name changes recently have been plurific? There's been a lot of name changes, and Brandon was one of them. I don't understand it, but whatever. Steels these days are getting crazy, but it's always going to depend on heat treat, edge geometry, blade grind. Folding knives are aiming 60 HRC or above, and hard use fixed blades are 56 to 58.
110% agree.
Yeah,
I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot. What's not really that important, honestly, is the name or the numbers that are on the blade, and what's been done up to that point before it gets laser marked as what steel that it is. M390 was a big case of that. With all the testing that Drill did, I mean, it was literally probably 60 or more knives in M390, and the variance was crazy. You know, just because it's marked a certain way doesn't mean that it's gonna, you know, perform to a certain standard.
Agreed. So here's a good question. I have no idea. Hungry Bird. What steels are easiest to heat treat, if anyone knows, besides 14C?
I know 14C28N is very easy from what I hear.
No clue.
That's
CPM 154, wide range.
That one should be, because that's actually a cutlery steel. Same with 12C27. Those were made to be cutlery steels in a mass production sense too, which was really cool.
Yep.
That's the word I was looking for, Stacy. Thank you. Plethora.
I can't think of a whole lot of other ones other than like basic carbon steels are very easy to heat treat.
Like 1095,
1084, all that stuff.
Right. 1080 CRV.
Right.
I'll look into that one, Mike. Mike says, Dirk, buy the Hogue Deca Gen 2 with MagnaCut and use that for unboxing.
If they're an interesting one with MagnaCut too, because their standard production stuff is 61, 62, but then they did that sprint run with the carbon fiber.
Mm-hmm.
That was 63, 64.
Mm.
So to me, you know, just putting two and two together, that tells me that there was more special care to the ones that are 63, 64 that they can't put in for mass production of the normal one.
Right.
Took them extra time.
Interesting. Same knife and different heat treat.
Yeah, I think it's just easier to mass produce at 61, 62. That seems to be like the standard.
Mm-hmm.
But like Chris Reeve, you know, they're going to put in a little extra care to get 63, 64, and as they should for a $400 to $600 knife.
Yeah, Detroit Spartan is a watch guy. He goes, this dude, he's talking about Tom, is the Tim Masso of knives. So Tim Masso is a guy in the watch community that basically knows every watch that's out there.
I appreciate that. That. That sounds like high praise.
It is very high praise. And come from Detroit, that's a good thing. So thanks for joining, Detroit. I love it.
Very good. Very good. So I think one of the great things that actually, if I remember back to our first episode of our old podcast, Tom, which we talked about it, that's sometimes a good thing to do when your knife gets dull. It's just good old strop, right?
Absolutely. And you know what's funny is I've been doing that more and more often lately. Instead of sharpening, it's quicker. If the edge isn't too far gone, you can normally strop it back. You can strop it back multiple times. I had some 4V that I stropped back, 5-6 weeks in a row, and it came back up to the same level of sharpness every time, which is crazy. It was literally hair whittling. It's on my Instagram somewhere. But yeah, it's something that I've kind of been playing around with a little bit more, and I really, really appreciate now. The steels that you can strap back like that, super easy.
Yep, I love that. And that's usually the first thing I'll go to before I go to like a sharpening rod or any of my guided sharpening systems is I'll do a little like first bare leather strop. And if that doesn't work, then I'll do a little like green compound and leather strop. And then maybe I'll even step up to like a black compound and then green compound and leather strop. So, but I still have some stuff back there where like Gerald was the diamond paste with the driftwood. I still have all that stuff in there. I haven't given that a try yet, so I'm kind of excited to try that one at some point. If
you like strapping, I got to put you onto either diamond or CBN emulsions, and go with something pretty coarse. Like I have some 16 micron CBN that it's roughly 1,000 grit. So your edge can be pretty much shot, and that'll still bring it back, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's just like using a finer stone.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and then when you do it that way, I think like you're not reducing the edge life as much, because when you're a good sharpener and like experienced like you take the right amount of steel off because you're only doing one pass. But some people, that I don't know, in the past have like removed quite a bit of steel just to get like a nice flat edge or whatnot, especially when you try to reprofile something, right?
For sure.
The first fixed blade I reprofiled, I put like an axe edge on it. It was just absolutely horrifying and ridiculous to have that fixed blade in there. And it took a while to like bring it back to, I wanted like more of an apple seed edge, you know? But yeah, you know, like sometimes, you know, if you're going straight to the stone and stuff, you're removing so much material. Whereas if you're using compounds and like Tom said, you know, emulsions of diamond paste, you know, you're going to save a lot of that steel on your blade.
Yeah, I'm not a sharpening guy. I think we all know that.
If you've ever rubbed one out, that's all you need to know. It's the same thing.
I did some sharpening in Boy Scouts as a kid. It didn't turn out so well for the Boy Scout knife. So I have friends like Alex, like Tom, like my other buddy Travis. I just ship the stuff to them. It comes back dangerously sharp, and I call it good. That's how I handle my sharpening. If people have asked before, I have friends I just send it to. I let them do their magic, and they send it back to me, and it's all good. And if it costs me money to have somebody else sharpen it, it costs me money. Sometimes friends just do it, you know, whatever. But I have no problem paying $10, $20 for somebody to resharpen my stuff for me. No problem. And then if they screw it up, then I can blame them. And then we can, you know, figure that out. But if I screw up my $1,000 plus knife, then I got nobody to blame but myself.
Right.
Not good.
Yeah.
EDC for fun. Welcome.
That guy's always around. He's a loyal follower, that guy.
He is. He's always popping up. Let's see what other people are saying here for a minute. Bearded Doom. All my knives are pocket jewelry used for occasional box and for the occasional box, carried for self-defense and personal enjoyment. I would never know if they weren't what was advertised. And
Dude,
that's pretty much me. That's pretty much me.
I love that name, the Beard of Doom. Like, I can't even picture that, but it sounds so damn cool. It sounds like, you know, like something from Marvel.
Right?
You know,
and he's around a lot. He's been doing a lot of stuff. He's been buying channel memberships for tons of people on different people's channels.
That's
so
nice.
He's a good, I don't know, good Samaritan of the knife community. That's not kind of the right word.
Perfect.
You know what I mean. He's a good guy.
Perfect.
Hungry Bird says basically same thing here. Cutting fruit and food, opening packages or whatever needed. I usually use a Milwaukee 1901 utility blade for carpentry and drywall or any buildings.
There you go.
Or painting activity.
I actually have one of those rut tools from Rexford. I forget the rut tool. That's what they called it. It's like that little X-Acto knife thing that he did, which all mono, whatever. It's pretty cool. It was useful.
I almost bought one of those a couple years back. I almost got out of like all the knife stuff, and I was like, you know what? If I just get that, I'll have like a really nice box cutter.
Yep,
and I can just swap the blades out.
Just you know, like, I mean, like, not everybody realizes, but cardboard is pretty harsh on a knife edge. Like, it will dull your stuff real fast. So if you don't, you know, if you're having like multiple Amazon boxes and stuff like that, and you're not a knife collector, and you know, every time one gets dull, you just, you know, go buy another one.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like a good little sidekick to have in your coin pocket or whatnot. Even has like a little pry bar in it and whatnot. So it's cool.
And you got the Professor EDC in the house.
What's up, Professor? Welcome.
And Thrasher says he sharpens his hard use tools, but his pretties he sends out.
Ah, yes.
That's fair.
That's kind of me.
I could probably sharpen an axe to make it a little bit better, but probably not. I'd probably just send that to Alex also. But
I've had some people send me some pretty high-end stuff. You know, I had a Spectre sent to me at one time, F95, a mini hot or a Hotyon Light. So I mean, that's got that kind of stuff. Like testing it was super cool, but sharpening it made me a little nervous. You know, as many knives as I've sharpened, it still makes you a little nervous when, you know, it's outside of like the price range of what you would buy. And plus it's somebody else's.
And it's somebody else's, right? I mean, I think that changes it also. like when I'm reviewing stuff that people have sent in and they're like, oh, just go ahead, carry it, use it, all that. I'm like, maybe.
I've been told the same thing. The guy with the Spectre told me I could carry it and use it. I took it with me one day.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I can't do this.
Yeah, it depends on what it is and where I'm going. I may carry it because I know it's probably not going to get used and stuff, and I may cut a couple pieces of cardboard or something just to say I did, but it really kind of depends on what it is that somebody has sent in. Like
Right.
if it was a Spectre or something, sure, no problem. But like some of the other one-off customs and stuff that people have sent in, I may not really care because I don't want to scratch it up. I don't want it to get caught on my seatbelt in the car and bend the clip on, or like just some weird thing that,
Right.
you know, I don't think I'm going to drop it, but as Alex knows, I've dropped a knife before. And so
I have two.
Yeah.
A very inexpensive one.
Yeah. I mean, I dropped 2 cheap ass junks that had to get sent back in and fixed. And it was, no.
Yeah. One of them had an S-shaped tip.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I dropped the back. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to admit it here. That I dropped the Frank. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah. You came up out of that deal though, because you took a long time. So, right.
That sucked. Yeah. It took a long time. So he made me a fixed blade because of it. But
he had a Fisher fixed blade after that. That's
cool.
To drop, several $1,000 knives and damage. I just felt like I wanted to cry. I'll be honest. I wanted to cry.
I feel bad enough dropping a couple $100 knife.
My stomach went and I almost cried, and I had a hard time. I did admit it to Alex and my other buddy Chris because they knew I had bought it and stuff, but
yeah. And I looked at it at first. I'm like, that's not that bad, and then I'm like, oh
as I zoomed in and took some pictures, and just, yeah.
I'm like, he could fix that. He could fix that, but yeah, that was good. And on days where I'm gonna go beat something up, I like something like this. Like this is a little cheapy from Real Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Little Poltergeist Blade Works design. This is the Luna, and it's in VG10. But I mean, look how thin this thing is. It's like
it looks super thin.
Yeah, even the frame is just unbelievable, right? So
it's cool.
Like something like this is more about the geometry than the steel, right?
For sure.
Less drag, it just goes right through. And on a day where I go to work, I like something like this versus something like this where it's like murder. It's a bit big for a sandwich. And I still like to carry it, but this one I wouldn't use anyways because they don't make them like this anymore,
Yeah, so I'm not the only one that's dropped a knife. Bearded Doom dropped a full dress Damasteel Arcane Abyss the day after he got it. I think I had the battle for a week or two, maybe, Alex. It was soon after I got it. He had a heart attack and only dinged the Zerk clip. Yeah, I wasn't. And mine dropped here in my office onto my chair, through the chair, onto that mat you have for your office chair to roll around, that little, and that, I don't know.
And the tip penetrated the carpet. And went
it was all bad. It was just all bad. But let's move on from that. That's enough.
Alex was just saying something about, the cutting geometry on that Real Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who isn't really too concerned with steel,
mm-hmm.
I would absolutely recommend taking something, even if it's something cheap, and just getting it reground thinner.
Mm-hmm.
That will make your experience so much better than, what the best steel. I could have a Maximate knife, and it be ground thick, and it wouldn't be fun to cut with.
Yes,
but I've got a couple. True. I've got a couple knives from Brian over at Transparent Knives. I got a couple from Alex at SPK. And those things are ground like lasers, and that just magnifies the cutting experience. I mean, it just glides. So even if it's dull, it'll still cut stuff like cardboard because it's so thin.
Right.
Yeah, geometry I think is more important than the steel in that regard.
100%.
And it's razor sharpness, because a very thin, acute edge by nature is just going to be sharper than a thick brick, if you will.
Correct.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't even realize a lot of the edges on knives they look smooth and they look round and, you know, all that good stuff. But most of them, you know, if you really look up close, they have tiny little micro serrations. And those little micro serrations actually help get through stuff a lot easier a lot of times. That's why, like, when I do actually sharpen on a stone, you know, even at 400 grit, you can make something cut really quite well if you know what you're doing, right?
So that's a good question for, you know, Tom and the steel guys. A mirror polish edge, or what a lot of people call like a working or a toothy edge?
I'm going to be honest. I cannot stand mirror polished edges. They look great. I love the aesthetics of it. I cannot stand cutting with them.
They don't last long at all.
They don't last very long. And the big thing for me is aggression and bite in the edge.
Yep.
So cutting stuff like cardboard is not a big deal. But you start cutting stuff like cellophane wrapping, like around, like, let's say, like pallets, you know, that get shipped in.
Yep.
Zip ties or cable ties are a big one. If it's polished, it slips right off.
Yep.
You cannot get it to bite.
Yep.
If you have something with some aggression, correct. It just grabs in and helps you cut the material. It might not feel quite as sharp.
Right.
But then you get through the cutting experience is nice because instead of like having to put downward pressure, you can drag through it.
Correct.
Which feels a lot nicer, cuts a lot cleaner in my opinion. Than something, you know, and even like after I had a knife with a mirror edge once, and I remember I used it for a couple days. It was a good mirror edge, but you know, and then on the second or third day after doing pretty much like maybe like 10 cardboard boxes, a few zip ties, I tried to go through an orange, and instead of cutting through, it was kind of already like squishing it, you know. And that you know, had that been more of a toothy edge, I guarantee you after 2 or 3 days it would gone through that orange like a laser, no problem. It's just not like it can't get through certain surfaces quite as easy. That's why, like, you know, when you use, let's say, a chainsaw, for example, to cut down the tree, it's not a smooth blade rotating thing. Right. It's a chain, right? Like to lacerate and get through. And on a micro level, that's kind of what I want my knife to do. So.
Absolutely. It's just something that I've kind of realized and developed throughout the years. I used to be real big on the mirror edge thing, you know, chasing the mirror edge and trying to, you know, make my knives look so nice and, you know, thinking that was about as sharp as I could get it. But once you start using all that stuff, you realize that the mirror edges kind of aren't it for a user knife. And there's other ways to go. Certain people like certain levels of the aggression and toothiness. I know that there's a couple of guys I talk to on Instagram pretty frequently that like, you know, like 200 or 300 grit edges.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that aggressive.
Yeah, no.
But there's other guys that like something, you know, around 1,000, 1,200, which is probably closer to where I'm at.
Standard, right? Yeah, that's pretty standard. 1,000, I think, right?
Yeah, 1,000 or so. And then you start getting in the mirror edge stuff, it's like 4,000 plus.
Right.
But man, you know, everybody kind of has their own preferences, and that's something you almost have to figure out on your own for what you use your stuff for. If I was just cutting strictly cardboard, I think mirror edges would probably still be the way I'd be going about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a lot of personal preference. Just like the blade shapes, the materials, a lot of people like, you know, this brand or that brand. I think the sharpening is the same thing between the mirror edge and the toothy edge. It's what do you like? Coke or Pepsi? Ford or Chevy? Like, neither one is wrong. It's whatever you like. Do you.
Exactly.
And I don't have a problem with that. And anybody that does have a problem with that is kind of a loser, and move on.
One other thing I wanted you to kind of explain, because I know you'll do it better than I would, which is actually a principle I learned from you guys from the old podcast, Sharp Talk, for those who don't know, was the concept of when you get a knife from a manufacturer, usually you'd like to sharpen it once or twice, maybe 3 times to get to like the good hardenable steel inside, right?
True.
It's kind of like M&M. You got like, well, I guess it's the opposite,
It's
right?
the opposite. Yeah, it's like the
You
chocolate's
got
on the outside.
hard. Yeah. So, and sometimes after resharpening it a couple times, you can find that good steel, and all of a sudden the knife performs much, much better, right? Like,
Yeah.
significant, right?
Yeah, and it's almost every manufacturer out there. I can't think of any of them that don't use some sort of powered system to sharpen. And that's where the issue comes up is powered systems, because speed and grit creates friction. Friction creates heat. So the heat there at the very edge, even though you may not be exceeding with your, by touching it, you can't feel that it's getting hot.
Right.
When you're talking about a section of an edge that's so small, it gets too hot, and basically you reach the tempering temperature of a steel, and that small area becomes softer. You're exceeding that tempering temperature.
Yep.
So some steels are more prone to it than others. It depends what tempering temperature they used. Stuff that's capable or more resistant to, or more tolerable of high temperatures may be less affected.
Mm-hmm.
But something simple, like let's say 14C28N, for example, will basically that apex is softer than the rest. And because it's softer, because it got heated up too fast or too much, it'll either break down easier, it'll chip, it'll roll. It kind of depends, the way it breaks down is a little funky. It just kind of depends what steel it is and what happened to it. But that's why you see guys like back in the day, especially with like S30V, they kept saying S30V is super chippy. And that was probably more than likely the reason. People still say that with like S110V today, Maximate, that kind of stuff. Just because they're basing all their opinions on factory edges that are probably pretty subpar in the grand scheme of things. You can sharpen, sometimes you get lucky, just 1 or 2 sharpenings and you're to the good stuff. I know Gerald has gone up to 14 sharpenings on a Benchmade Super Freak before he actually got it to stabilize out.
Really?
So, oh yeah, they burnt the shit out of one. And it seems to be a common thing on especially the higher edge retention stuff, because you got to think it's taking them more effort to sharpen at the factory. It's taking more passes over the belt. So it's something that's a pretty common phenomenon.
And Todd mentions Gerald here, likes how
perfect.
Outpost 76, Gerald does his testing fine edge cuts and working edge cuts with multiple sharpenings, more than 3 usually on each steel. Yes. Up to 14 apparently.
And I applaud Gerald's patience with that kind of stuff, because, man, just testing and testing and testing and then going back to resharpen. I mean, that stuff takes hours. And I have to applaud his patience with that kind of stuff. Especially that Super Freak, 14 sharpenings is ridiculous. And he tested it in between every time.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's just something that people kind of need to be aware of. And if you're using your knife and you think you're getting subpar performance out of it, make sure that's a variable that you eliminate first, just before saying, like MagnaCut sucks or something like that. Because that's, out of everything, that's the number one factor coming out of factories right now, production knives, is you're seeing overheated edges. And like I said, it's on almost everything.
Well, the more knives they pump out, the better for them, right? And it would probably be detrimentally much slower production to keep the steel at like a cooler temperature.
I think you're going to probably start seeing it even more frequently right now, just because companies are so backed up and trying to push knives out faster and faster. I know that like Benchmade's super behind right now, and they're trying to get stuff out as fast as they can. They've had new stuff that's been announced for, I don't even know, since January, February, and it's not out yet. So you can only imagine how backed up they are trying to push things out the door as fast as possible. So I think it's something that's going to be overlooked for quite a while.
No, I totally get that. And Todd says basically burnt edges are a plague with most knife factories.
It is. And it seems like it's something very easy to resolve with just a water-cooled sharpening system. But a lot of manufacturers don't want to do that because it's a little messy.
Yeah, and if you want to nerd out and geek out on steel, EDC for fun is correct. Gerald Outdoor 76 has spreadsheets and stuff, and Tom, you've got some stuff too, I think, right?
I have a spreadsheet on my channel as well. It's in the description of any of my videos.
Yeah,
that's my personal testing. That way you can kind of compare to Gerald's and anybody else's.
Yeah, because most of these guys that are testing, I think, have kind of a spreadsheet and some sort of documentation of how they're testing, what they're testing, and all that, so that you can go back to that and geek out, and then you can say, oh, he's full of crap, I don't believe in the way he's testing, or yeah, he really is doing the things that are right and whatnot. So I think that's great. And that, again, that takes time. Like, we all have regular jobs.
Yeah, and can you imagine for Tom's can you imagine for Tom's poor little hands how much downward pressure that takes for him to
Why do you think my forearms are so wore out, Alex?
Right?
That is between what happens with you and that gamer's chair and the screen you're looking at.
I got 3 screens here, so you know, we can choose.
Wow. So you got a front view, a side view, and a rear.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I give you guys a lot of credit for the testing stuff. I mean, I know what it takes just to put the videos together, and that does take time. But then I'm not testing and I'm not spending hours testing stuff and then putting a video together about how I tested it. Like that's too much work for me.
But yeah, the process is long sometimes, depending on how in depth we want to get.
Yeah, which I think is great, and that's the beauty of YouTube, is there's something for everybody.
For sure. And I love like the way Tom does it. Because I kind of do it like him too now, where I don't have a set schedule of when I'm posting a video. It takes as long as it takes to make a good video, right?
Yeah, because you guys are smart.
No.
And you didn't start doing this daily thing that I thought was such a great idea. That I guess is a good idea, but it's a lot of work.
You can't do both at the same time. Like, you can't like do like a crazy high edit video and do that every day. That's not sustainable for even the best guy.
I can't.
So it's a different style.
Not the edit master like you, that's for sure. I'm not doing that.
Like when I first started, it was twice a week, and now it's just kind of whenever I feel inspired to make a video. You know, if you're inspired and you kind of feel more strongly on a topic, you're probably gonna do a better job and put out a better product. So that's the only reason. That's the only time I ever do videos anymore, is when I feel like I have a topic to talk on that I feel pretty strongly about.
I'm trying to release one every 2 weeks. I'm trying to just do that for a while until, you know, like I feel like doing more. But I think some of my like series videos will probably be a little faster than that. But that's been my cadence lately, is about 2 videos a month. And,
which is okay.
Which is totally okay for me, you know, and it works better for me because I think I'm making like slightly better quality videos that way.
I think I'm on my longest hiatus since I started right now. Just kind of been
now.
Like, it's like 3.5 months now since I've put one out. But I think it's just, you know, nothing's really interested me that much lately. Nothing real new to test. I feel like I've put everything out there that I want to at this point.
So where are you at now, as far as everybody's going to want to know with all the testing and knowledge? What's your favorite steel, Tom?
Oh boy,
I have a guess, but I have a guess, but I want to know if I'm right.
I could give you a list of like 5 or 6 that I could rotate in and out and be pretty happy with, but I still think my number one is the same as it was a year or 2 years ago. It is probably Maximate.
That's what I thought.
There's just nothing else like it out there.
Yeah.
When I
K390's right there. K390's right there. I just have to sharpen it a little bit more often, but it strops back way easier. So it's kind of a give and a take.
Right.
And I remember you really like crew wear as well.
I do. I really like crew wear. I bought one of the new PM2s with the micarta and crew wear. And I really like that. It seems to be holding up really, really well. Crewwear, 4V, Magna Cut, K390, and Maximate are probably my top 2.
Nice. And for the regular end user that doesn't want to have a hard time sharpening, which one of those would you recommend, down to maybe like 2?
Magna Cut 4V and Crewware are all very, very similar. So you could get away with any single one of those. If stainless is a concern for you, MagnaCut's the way to go. If it's not a concern for you, I probably like 4V a little bit more than the other two. They're so similar though.
Yeah. What is the significant difference between 4V and Crewware?
Crewware is a little bit tougher. 4V is like 3V's more edge, longer edge holding cousin. So a little less tough, more vanadium to boost edge holding. And it can get a little harder too. It can get up like 65, 66, where Crewware can't. Crewware is like 64, 65 on the high end. But you start to notice a drop in toughness at that hardness in Crewware.
Mm-hmm. But do you really gain the edge stability as well? When you
I don't think we've ever seen a Crewware at 65. At 64, it's phenomenal. But as far as
one of those old school, the first Crewware Para 3. I know that
the gray one.
Yeah,
those were good ones.
Yeah, I know.
Those were hard.
Still sharp.
Yeah, those were hard ones. I had one of those too. I really regret selling that.
Yeah. That's the one I have all modded crazy now with some splattered carbon and everything. But it's a knife that I really enjoyed for a while. That was good. That edge was pretty strong and stable. I
see Scott just asked what HRC Maximet's being run at. Every single example I've had has been 68 or 69. It can get up a little harder than that. I've seen when they first released it, it can be a little lower. I saw some like 66, 67, but it seems like they have it down to a science between 68, 69 now.
Yeah.
They haven't cracked 70 yet. I saw one at like 69.5. Someone had one.
Just incredible.
Spyderco?
I love that name.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, Spyderco's the only one using Maximet.
I worked with a guy at a job a couple jobs ago. His name was Justin, and he self-proclaimed himself to be just incredible. And so that's funny. So he loves just incredible, love the name, and he loves some Crewware.
And we got the Beard of Doom.
And Mike, appreciate the contents. Thank you. We appreciate you watching. And yeah, sad to see Naf go, lack of time. He's moving soon. He's got some stuff going on in life. And
he'll be back.
He's being a little dramatic. I don't think he's in the chat, so I could say that now. But he'll be back.
He'll be back.
Yeah, he just wanted to be dramatic as the exit video for whatever.
When I'm searching like Facebook or anything like that, I always see he's online. I know you're out there, Mikey. I know you're coming back.
Dirk for EDC, thanks for joining. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Welcome. So, what kind of questions do you guys have for Tom? Because we got him here. We don't always have the steel guys here. If you have sharpening questions, if this is the time.
Stacy asks how Naf's wife is doing. She's doing good.
Yeah.
I'm really pumped for it. Did you see Spyderco announce the mules in the couple different steels that they're gonna run them in?
I heard something about that. Yes.
T15, which was the first CPM steel ever. So that will be cool to try. That's one I asked Laren about a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other one was like Rex 76, which will be like similar to Maximet as well.
Wow. Okay.
So I wonder if that's something they'll be able to get a little bit more regularly because it's a CPM steel.
Right.
I think they have some issues getting supplies from Carpenter, which is where Maximet's from.
Oh.
Right.
Supply chain issues?
I think so. I don't think
get out of here. That doesn't happen.
I don't think Carpenter puts out the quantities that Crucible does.
I don't think so either.
They're more on like the industry side of stuff, like manufacturing and what's the word I'm looking for? Like dyes and that kind of stuff.
Right. Like tooling. Yeah, because, even 204p is not even something you even see anymore. I mean, I haven't seen it in a while.
No.
That was like the equivalent. That was their version of the M390 or the 20CV. Similar.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly the same.
So Stacy asks, what budget steel do you like for the best for overall performance?
14C?
It depends on if origin of knife matters to you. If it doesn't, 9CR18 is super nice.
Okay.
I know Civivi uses that in a couple of their blades. Other than that, 14C is great. 12C27 is very similar as well. So either one of those steels are good to go. Sharpen up great, holding edge pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. I like 14C28N. That stuff is really easy to bring back. And it holds an edge it's pretty impressive. And like for what you pay for those knives for most of the time, it's pretty good.
And then Mike says he's a sharpening novice and thinking about going all the way in with a top model Wicked Edge system. Is the price reasonable? So I guess before we answer that question, what system are you using, Tom?
So that's something I actually feel pretty strongly about. You can see the little Wicked Edge behind me on the table over here. It's the old Go model.
Okay.
They're actually redoing it right now. It should be released, I think, at the end of this month. I would actually lean away from the Wicked Edge stuff just because they use proprietary stones and there's no stone options. The other thing that sucks is like the stone carriers have a little lip on them. So if you have Spydercos, you can't get all the way down to the plunge grind, which is kind of annoying without modifying the stone carrier. What I really, really like is either the KME, which I had for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
The downside to that is it's only a 4-inch stone, which kind of sucks to remove steel with. But what I've been using the most is Hapstone. They're out of Ukraine. So supply is maybe a little difficult to get at the moment. But Gridomatic carries them, and I think they sell on their own website too. Hapstone does. But they have a ton of different models. They're all modular, so you can start with like the cheapest system and then add the modular parts that would make it the higher end system down the road if that's something you want to do. And they're just more versatile. You can use any 6-inch stone, any Edge Pro style stone in them. And so the stone options are endless. Like there's literally hundreds.
Oh, Edge Pro stones are great too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use the Edge Pro brand stones, Gridomatic. If you go to search by their 6-inch stone selection, it's literally hundreds. It's pages and pages. So options are crazy.
I have some Japanese whetstones that are fun to use.
Yes.
I also have a KME with the polishing tape, which I never use, and then I have the old school Lansky kit. That was my first sharpening system I bought. It actually works pretty good. You'd be surprised how good that little Lansky system works if you know like how to like keep those bars straight because you know they would bow. But otherwise they were pretty good. And then I have an Edge Pro as well.
Okay. What about Mossy Man Tony, my buddy Anthony, who lent in a bunch of the Odin custom knives? Best sharpening angle for overall use and durability. Thoughts?
I think it's something that you kind of have to play around with and see what holds up for your use. I think anything from like, if you really want to get crazy with it, you can go down to like 12, 13 degrees. And if it holds up for you and doesn't chip out, doesn't, roll, sweet, run it at that because you're going to get better edge holding out of low angles like that. And they get sharper.
Right.
Just because that, that apex is more acute, smaller. The smaller you can get that, sharper it'll get. But anywhere from like there to like 25 degrees or so, I'd probably stay away from 25 if you can help it. But if your use kind of dictates that, if you're still chipping stuff at 20 degrees, try 25. So 15 to 25 is a good range.
Yep.
Got it. And then Bearded Doom, our buddy again, couple of half serrated. Do you have any tricks for sharpening the serrated ones?
There's no real tricks to it. I mean, you either have to buy one of those like taper diamond rods and sharpen each tooth individually, or get a Spyderco sharp maker. They're the best tool out there for serrations. If it's half serrated, I'd probably just tape off the front end of the blade with masking tape or painter's tape, something like that. Maybe a couple wraps around it, and that way you're not affecting your front portion.
KME makes a pretty good rod too, actually.
They do. If you have a guided system, there's some brands out there that do sell stones for that.
Yep.
And then Todd says 14C 28N is one of those steels that companies have to try to screw up to make bad. I've seen better stuff from certain companies, but I've never seen any truly bad stuff come out of it.
It's a Swedish steel, if I remember right?
It is. And it was made for mass production knives. So it's literally set up for mass quantity heat treating, which no other steel really is.
Yeah, that stuff is great. Who was it that made a great one? What's that company from Bulgaria that made those?
Manly.
Yeah, Manly. I still have them
awesome.
up here too. I still have those things. Yeah, they made a pretty good 14C28N.
They do.
And they did. What's the other steel that they did?
They did 12C27, and they also did S90V.
S90. They did S90 as well. And I remember it was like an S90V at like $80 or $75.
It was crazy.
That was crazy cheap for like a knife like that. It was pretty cool.
Mike has another question here. Is K390 steel from Japan different to K390 from the US?
It is. It is.
Should the process be the same? What's the deal with that?
You would think the process should be the same, but the Seki City factory over there in Japan does heat treat their K390 a little harder. I think for the most part it was like 65, 66, whereas the stuff here in the States was like 63, 64. Neither one's bad. I've had both. I played around with both. I was going to do a video on it, but I sold the PM2 that I had in it. Basically, the softer stuff from the US here, little less edge holding, drops back super easy. The stuff from Japan holds the edge a little bit longer, but is a little more difficult to strap back.
Okay.
Both good, just different.
Yeah. Chris has best way to find an angle is start at 20 or 25, go down 1 degree every sharpening until you notice you're getting edge damage, then go back up a degree.
I 100% agree with him.
Takes a little time.
Don't try and take 5 degrees off at a time. You'll be there for a couple hours.
Yeah, just go down by 1 degree and then
I've
use
done that.
Oh, it sucks.
I know. In my old days, I did that.
And Scott, you're totally right.
Hours.
The Japanese steelmakers have spent decades, if not generations, perfecting their steel.
100%.
Like they know what they're doing.
What I think is really cool though is like they were always like strictly Japanese steels. In the Spyderco factory, they send them all sorts of like US stuff, and they do a great job with all of it. It seems like they're really, put in the time to learn it.
Yeah. Which is great.
Well, and that's another notable thing to mention too, is the companies you think have been doing a very good job with heat steels. And obviously Spyderco, that's one.
The Spyderco is like the leader, I think. They're about as good as you're gonna get from most steels out there. There's some solid ones out there. Benchmade does a good job with certain steels. Their S30V has always been very, very good. Seems like they're doing crew wear okay. I still think they're missing their mark. They say 63, 65. And I had a mini Adamas that came in at like 62. So I still think there's some hit or miss stuff there.
Yeah.
Their M4s are normally pretty solid. Although, like Gerald experienced, you might be a little burnt. A little overcooked in the sharpening process. Their S90V is okay. Nothing spectacular. But yeah, Spyderco is like the best bet for the most part. Civivi does a very good job as well with any steels that they use.
So that means, how about We knives?
We on the other hand, it doesn't. I don't know why. It seems like they run everything a little too soft. Their S35 VN's always been like sub 60 for the most part. Same with M390. Maybe it has to do with the ease of heat treat on the lower end steels, and the Civivi stuff is just easier for them to hit their marks. But
maybe,
yeah, Cold Steel was another one.
Yeah,
but they used to do a very, very good job. I'm not sure now, they're in different management hands now, so I don't know if anything will change.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it's been a little while now since Cold Steel made a change, but I don't think you're really going to see any major changes or fallout or anything for a year or two after a company buys a company. I mean, it's going to take time to go through.
So Lynn Thompson has nothing to do with it anymore, or is that what
he sold it?
What's he doing now?
I have no idea. Probably sword fighting somewhere.
Sword fighting, bear wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hunting
enjoying
for
life.
Rhinos. Yeah.
Just enjoying life with his legacy that he got from I don't know. Good for him.
I would have never imagined him like retiring. Like he's just not like that kind of personality. I would imagine him just selling something because he's up to something else,
And he may be up to something else in the background, and who knows? A year from now, might come up with
Here's
I don't know.
Thompson, and then out comes like a spear and out of his underpants. Oh yeah, Lynn is quite the character.
Scott, that's an interesting comment. Scott says, I worry if things get bad in Taiwan that our community would lose a lot of great knife makers.
I 100% agree. I've been thinking about that recently too. I've got a couple Spider Co's that are made.
Why? The Chinese stuff still comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's a good point though. But I think where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, I even know of like Custom Knife Factory is a great example, right? Look at Russia right now, and Custom Knife Factory found a way to smuggle their knives into the U.S. and sell them out through a dealer. So, it might not be as bad as everybody thinks.
Todd says, I think Lynn still does some advising, can't read, work with them, but he's running his own company, never unattended. I didn't hear about
I didn't know about that.
Sure.
I wonder if it's like some sort of self-defense class. I remember the video.
Oh, never unarmed, he says.
See, I thought I remember something like that. And then, I used to like his crazy videos where he would like there's a good one where he tests out his pepper spray, which is, by the way, no longer available on the market. But yeah, like him and his buddy would like spray each other in the eyes. It's like, oh my God. And, he just wild character, that guy. I just I don't know who actually wants to be Lynn Thompson, but a lot of people watch for the entertainment value. That's for sure. So what we got here?
Never unarmed. And now when you go to his site, it makes you put in your birth date to verify that you're over 21. Is it a firearm?
Oh, it's firearms. Look, 1911 8-round stainless magazines. Shop now. Reliable magazines. Well, you would think if he's going to do magazines for a 1911, he at least do like a 10-rounder or something.
Super thin gun grip. Look at how thin that thing is.
That's
all right, so there you go. That's him.
All right, so he's doing the Todd Begg thing.
Yeah.
Or I mean the Begg shop thing.
The Begg knives thing. They made some stuff. Oh, geez.
Yeah, like 1911 grips. Love chatting, boys. Look at those comments. Hey, we gotta pop that up. Hold on.
I don't
In case anybody's lonely right now. If anybody's lonely right now, do not click on this link.
Yeah, don't I'm over here deleting them, guys, but geez, come on now. I have been getting spammed in almost all my videos lately with stuff.
Dude, that is awesome on a live. Like I've never seen it.
I've never seen it on a live
before. Hey,
but I mean, that's awesome. Guess it happens. So yeah, don't click on those links, guys, please. And when you see them in our videos, my videos, anybody's videos, just you can kind of right click on them and report them. So yes. Or there's like 3 dots on the side of it, and you can report them from your phones too. Just that helps everybody out on YouTube. I mean,
right.
So yeah, if you see that kind of stuff, just report it and move on. I try to delete them and then I block those people.
I think I should pin that comment if you. I don't know. I might be fun for later.
Todd says that's been popping up on a lot of lives today, so I don't know.
Is that right? That's interesting.
I haven't seen any of the other lives today. I've been busy and out and about, but
so I'm gonna throw this in there for those who are not aware, because there is an epidemic of this stuff also going on in the watch world, like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll say the phone number in the name title, and it'll say have a little hand that goes like this in the text, and it says, "Here, welcome, you won a prize. Text this number right here." I've been seeing it so much. Do not text the number. Just don't do it. And see, that's what we get for talking about Russia and China on the podcast.
See what happens.
Yeah, we get those were Russian hackers right there, is what I think it was.
Yeah, if something, it's like a phishing email, guys. If you see something in one of our videos comments like that you won something, do not text that WhatsApp number. It's not us.
Yeah.
We do it differently. I go back to your comment. Like, you'll know it's me. You'll know it's Alec. Like, just be smart. Don't click on everything that comes through.
Exactly. So,
well, I think we've kind of exhausted everything here. I think.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Tom?
Good.
I think we've got a link to Tom's channel in the description of this video. Everybody, go check it out. We got a link to my channel, main channel, Alex's main channel, of course. In the comments, there's been some links for some other stuff as well. Not giving welcome to the channel. What is this?
Ariuses.
He's not giving welcome to the channel Ariuses. No, I'm not passing out welcome to the channel Ariuses. Sorry. I'm not. I don't give. I mean, I do give stuff away. I just did a 5,000 plus subscriber giveaway thing.
Yeah,
that was a watch, a $1,000 knife, a $500 watch. Like I gave away a bunch of stuff.
Tell you what, I've actually let me promote it here. I don't know when I'm going to do it quite yet, but I do have a giveaway that I'm going to be doing at some point. It was supposed to be for 2,000 subs, but I haven't made a video since then. It's a bug out reblade from Transparent Knives.
Oh, sweet.
In Magna Cut at 64.
Nice.
And then another person I really want to shout out is Stroppy Stuff on Instagram. Max is a really good dude. He sent me a whole set of his compounds, diamond compounds, for me to try, and then a whole nother set to give away. So the blade will come with those stropping compounds. All you need is a bug out frame, and you've got a really, really awesome knife. So at some point, I'm going to be giving that away. Sometime, I hope soon, when I get some more time to make a video.
So it's just the blade of the bug out.
Correct. You will need the guts of the bug out.
Okay. Not
but
a problem.
it's like a $300 value basically. I mean, that's about what Brian charges, $200-$300 somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
That's pretty rad.
And that was donated by Brian. I want to make that clear. Brian's an awesome guy. I was gonna buy it off him. He said I can just have it.
Oh, what a sweetheart! I want.
He is. He's the best.
Cheeks.
He's the best.
Yeah, he is very knowledgeable in his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bit on a crusade right now, which, for me, I think it's,
he has.
I mean, whatever like floats his boat, and I've known Brian, for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And I'm very fond of Brian. He lives very close to me and all that good stuff. But is it really going to make a difference doing all that he's spending those resources on? Is it going to make a difference for the future?
People said the same stuff about our videos about steel hardness, and look where it went.
You didn't do a legal battle.
No.
Making videos, and
nobody got super butthurt like Rick did.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we all know, you and me both know that Rick gets very butthurt, right?
He does,
because that's not the first time, right?
It is not.
We had our own little run-ins with Rick a few times. Yeah, but I mean, I think Rick is like one of those personalities. He's an A-type personality, and he doesn't want he's got a lot of pride, and I think he has too much pride personally. Like, if you're scared of a kid doing custom stuff out of his garage in Stevenson's ranch, if you're threatened by him making a video with your multi, however many dollar, been in the industry since God knows when. What's the point? Why attack the kid? And then why engage with him anyways? Because Rick Hinder is a hard head. He's not gonna say, "All right, everybody, we're changing protocols." I'm just sorry, I just don't see that happening. If he's trying to tame them and make people vote with their wallets, which is what I think he's trying to do, then that's fine. But I mean, I think that's not the intended result that, for all that work, for all that battling. So
I didn't mean to open up that whole can of worms here at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
I just wanted to bring up Brian because he did donate.
Yeah, so go.
Hey, and I love Brian. Don't get me wrong.
Tom's channel is in the description. It's in the comments. He's also on Instagram as just Tom Hosang Outdoors. Right?
Yep, you got it.
He's got very little hands, everyone.
He's got small hands, but
I'm gonna put him close to the camera so they look big.
Yeah,
and
so you know
how to find Alex and I. We're also on YouTube and Instagram, and Alex keeps changing his name, but you can find him anyway.
Like that one.
Yeah, I see it.
All right, thanks everyone for watching. We greatly appreciate it. Go do all the YouTube stuff, and we will see you in 2 weeks. We don't have a guest yet.
We'll find. I don't know.
We have a list of guests, just so everybody's aware. And if you have ideas, comment in our videos. Like, we are looking for everybody to come be a guest and show you guys what you guys want to see. So we will have a guest.
Keith says the knife nuts. Well, we had Levon on.
We had Levon
two episodes ago.
The goal, we will have them all on at some point, one by one.
I think the only tricky one is going to be Brian. Getting Brian on.
Stang Blade Works jumping in at the end. What's up? How are you, sir?
Yeah, that's another
one from Jolly Old Canada that we will have on as a guest at some point too, probably. So.
Yeah, I like the way the Canadians make their blades too.
Yep, I've done a couple of videos on some Stang Blade Works blades. Super nice, and we definitely want to talk to him about being on as a guest, along with a bunch of people. So and every once in a while it'll just be Alex and I. Yep. We'll see how it goes.
We haven't done one of those in a while.
All right, thanks everyone.